Good day, everyone. You're welcome to this week's Business and Investment Tips program, a production of RCCG Christ Church Radio with Dr. Ayodeji Ebo, an investment professional. This week, the focus is on what Nigeria's Q2 2025 trade numbers mean for investors. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, recently published Nigeria's second quarter 2025, April to June, foreign trade in goods, physical goods, merchandise trade numbers. These numbers revealed that total foreign trade rose marginally by 6% or 2 trillion naira quarter on quarter to 38 trillion naira from 36 trillion naira recorded in the previous quarter, Q1 2025, January to March, and rose 20% or 6.4 trillion naira year on year relative to 31.7 trillion naira in Q2 2024. Total trade grew by 13% or 8.4 trillion naira year on year in the first 6 months of 2025 relative to the same period in 2024 due to the devaluation of the naira. Foreign trade involves buying and selling goods, services, and capital across international borders. Each country has its own needs and resources and services that they cannot produce sufficiently domestically and exporting surplus goods. Based on the report, total imports declined marginally by 0.9% or 139 billion naira quarter on quarter to 15.2 trillion naira in Q2 2025 from 15.4 trillion naira in Q1 2025. However, it increased by 9.4% year on year from 14 trillion naira in Q2 2024. The increase in the value of imports can be mainly attributed to the devaluation of the naira at the official market. On the other hand, total exports increased by 10.4% quarter on quarter to 22.7 trillion naira in Q2 2025 compared to 20.6 trillion naira in Q1 2025 and up 28% year on year from 17.7 trillion naira recorded in Q2 2024. Nigeria's trade balance was positive. Exports exceeded imports, improving by 44% quarter on quarter or 2.3 trillion naira to 7.4 trillion naira in Q2 2022 from 5.1 trillion naira in Q1 2025. Exports accounted for 60% of total trade, while imports were 40% in Q2 2025 compared to the ratio of 57% to 43% in Q1 2025. The top 5 trade destinations in Q2 2025 include export trading partners such as Spain, 11% or 2.5 trillion naira, India, 9% or 2 trillion naira, France, 7% or 1.5 trillion naira, and Canada, 6% or 1.4 trillion naira. The top import trading partners include China, 32% or 5 trillion naira, the US, 14% or 2.2 trillion naira, India, 6% or 900 billion naira, the Netherlands, 4% or 607 billion naira, and the United Arab Emirates, 4% or 536 billion naira. Unexpectedly, Togo has surpassed South Africa as our leading trading partner in Africa with export values of 812 billion naira and import values of 212 billion naira. In terms of port activity, Apapa Port still held the largest share in Q2 2022, accounting for 79% of total exports and 46% of total imports. However, the dependency has decreased from 90% of exports and 61% of imports recorded in Q4 2024. Meanwhile, Lekki Deep Sea Port has surpassed Tin Can Island, contributing 10% of exports and 16% of imports in Q2 2025, largely due to the operations of the Dangote Group, particularly in its refinery and fertilizer businesses. Our thoughts. 1. In Q2 2025, the share of agriculture and manufacturing products in total exports stayed low at 6.8% versus 7.2% in imports and 2.5% versus 50.1% in imports respectively. The share of oil and oil-related products remained high at 86%. This continues to show Nigeria's over-reliance on oil for FX without any clear path to improving exports from agriculture and manufacturing. Energy stocks like Seplat and Aradel will keep benefiting from the high oil and gas exports. 2. Agriculture exports dropped to 5% of exports. Cashew nuts, cocoa beans, and cocoa butter were the top earners, but volumes fell compared to Q1 2025. Agro-processing companies, e.g. Okomo Oil, Presco, and listed cocoa exporters will benefit if the government pushes agriculture as an FX source. 3. The trade surplus provides some relief for FX liquidity, but the continued dominance of oil means FX earnings remain fragile. Increasing non-oil exports and reducing manufactured imports will be vital in stabilizing the naira and decreasing external external vulnerability. 4. Based on imports by economic regions, Asia and Europe represent 75% or 11.5 trillion naira of the total imports. Manufactured goods from Asia account for 40% of total imports, mostly from China. 5. Regional trade opportunities. Exports to Africa reach 3 trillion naira, with ECOWAS accounting for 1.9 trillion naira. However, Nigeria still imports petroleum and fabrics from the same region. The AFCFTA presents an opportunity for Nigerian companies in refining, textile, and food processing to increase exports. 6. It's noteworthy to observe the increased activity at the Lekki Deep Sea Port, which now accounts for 11% of exports and 16% of imports. This improvement can be attributed to the operations of the Dangote Fertilizer and Refinery, which is helping to alleviate pressure on the Apapa port. This effort should be further intensified. 7. Nigeria still exports raw materials but imports finished goods. Value addition is the missing link. This will boost employment in the country and reduce insecurity. 8. The government requires support from the private sector as its revenue is under considerable pressure. The sector can contribute by investing in value-added activities and promoting exports of locally manufactured products. Nigeria's Q2 2025 trade report shows growth, but still too much dependence on oil. For investors, the key opportunities lie in energy stocks that benefit from oil exports, agro-processing firms riding cashew, cocoa, and palm oil exports, local manufacturers replacing imports, export-driven companies tapping AFCFTA, logistics and port operators leveraging Lekki's rise. If Nigeria succeeds in refining oil locally, boosting agriculture, and growing manufacturing, investors positioned in these sectors will enjoy long-term gains. Thank you for listening. Please join us same time next week for another exciting, interesting, and insightful session. For questions, comments, and feedback, kindly forward to ebo.ayodeji@gmail.com or send an SMS to 070-8246-3747. Stay blessed and have a great week. Bye.